Let's talk about a really exciting topic today. Let's talk about presser feet and you. It's going to be riveting. Stick around. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to you as well. This is my handmade lifestyle, and I am your hostess, Patty. I go by Pattymac Makes everywhere online. And today we are zoomed in on the actual sewing part of our machine. This folks, this is where the magic happens. Getting all of this just right for the project that you are attempting to make is your goal in sewing life, and it will make your sewing life a lot easier if you have it all set up. So let's talk about just what all is in here. It's like an anatomy lesson, so to speak. This is our our throat plate, and all of these little measurements on here are guides to help us with getting our seam allowance. These little guys are called the feed dogs, and what they do is they are grippy and they move in a fashion like this to pull the fabric through the machine, because we're sitting here and the fabric is feeding through. One thing I'll tell you is don't force your fabric. Don't ever force your fabric. If you get on the back side over here and you start pulling your fabric through, you're going to mess your machine up. It is not good. You're going to do something called throwing off the timing. And if you do that, girl, it's a trip to the repair shop. And if you have a lower end machine like this little Singer we're looking at today, just put it in the trash, because it's going to cost more to fix it than it is to just replace it. So let the feed dogs do their job, which is to pull the fabric. Your job as the sewist is to guide. And one of the things that will help you to guide is to use the correct presser foot. And this is the presser foot, and it's called the presser foot because it's this little foot, and when you engage it, it presses down on the fabric, and it just keeps it in contact with those feed dogs so that the feed dogs can pull everything through. So here's our throat plate, here's our feed dogs, here's our actual presser foot, here's our good friend the sewing machine needle. You should know all about sewing machine needles now. If you don't, I will link to the video on that. Let me see, how do I say this to you? So this is like our presser foot bar going on back here, okay? And this is the release that we're going to use to change the presser foot. And then kind of around here, you can't really see it, but if you're sitting at your machine, you know that little lever, which is our friend, the presser foot lever, that's going to raise things up and down. And so it has three positions. It has the down position, and that's what you're going to do when you sew. The up position when you're done sewing, and then this is the way up. Did you know it could do that? It can go way up, and this will help you to get your bobbin thread out of the hole in the throat plate here when you have just threaded a fresh bobbin through. Also, if you have really thick fabric, like mask making, for example, is really can have pretty big thicknesses of fabric. So you can lift that up, and that can help you to get your fabric through. But what we want to talk about today is changing this little guy. And so this little machine doesn't come with a whole lot of presser feet. You can buy them as a aftermarket type product. What you want to know about your machine is the type of presser foot that it's going to take, because they are different. There are different types, and the one on this particular machine is just a snap-on, and you'll see when we change it out how that works. So right here I've got two different presser feet. This is called a zipper foot, and I have a thing for making little zippered bags. I love making them. I think they're fun. And this little zipper foot, you put it on from either one side or the other, and then what it does is it helps you to sew close to the edge of the zipper so that you can get a really nice, clean look when you put a zipper into something. But you want to make sure that you are set up on just a straight stitch, because see how this little bar is here. So here's what I'll tell you. With this zipper foot, one thing I really liked about the Singer, and actually it's why I bought the machine, was because it has the ability to really adjust this needle left and right. And I'll show you that now. Let's turn this on. Something conducive to having your machine work is to make sure that it's actually plugged into the electric. If you're trying to sew and nothing's happening and you're really frustrated, check and see if you're plugged in, because you might not be. Okay. Yeah, because if you move the machine, that can come out. That's what happened to me. I moved this so you could see it better, and it came unplugged. Okay, anyway. We're going to look at moving this needle, and on the keypad it has those arrow keys, and see how much I can move it. Now that may not look like a whole lot to your eye, but when you're sewing something, that's a lot. And so what I want to be careful about is I want to be careful that if I really want to get close over here for whatever reason, I want to make sure that I'm not going to hit the presser foot, because it's not pretty if you are not paying attention and you set up and your needle hits your the metal part of your presser foot. Okay, that's bad. You don't want to do that, because not only will you break a needle, and that can be dangerous. You know, this is sharp and it could fly off somewhere. You don't want that. You could also bend your upper housing, and then you're back to that situation we talked about in the beginning where your timing is messed up. Well, now if you bend your upper housing, again, you've just created some really expensive heavy trash to put out. So you don't want to do that. Be careful. So you set up, you put your fabric in, and you run it through, and then it's going to stitch just to that side. Now let's say that I want to sew on the other side of this presser foot. This is how you change that foot. You press this little lever back here, the presser bar, and look at this. Whoop, just drops right off. Look at that. Look at that. It just drops right away. And then you have to fiddle it a little bit. So you're going to line up the little bar, the little snap-on bar, to this little groove. And that's how you attach the presser foot. So I'm trying to do this where you can see. It's very hard to do. In terms of filming, it's not hard to do in real life, but filming it so that my hand doesn't get in the way. There you go. Now look at what happens. Oh my goodness! Look, I'm hitting the presser foot. Not good. So move it over out of the way. And then I can sew on that side. So for whatever reason, when you're putting in zippers, you wind up moving this back and forth. So anyway, but that's not the foot that you want to have on all the time. The foot that you want to have on all the time is this one. And this is an all-purpose or a zigzag foot. And let's see here. Let me see what I can show you about this. So hold on, let's get it focused. This is how you're going to snap it on to the housing. And see how wide this is? Okay, this is where the needle is going to go. And the reason it's called all-purpose or zigzag foot is because you have this wide opening. And when you zigzag, your needle is going back and forth. And so you need a wide opening, or you're going to have the situation of the needle hitting the presser foot. But because this is an all-purpose foot, that means you can also sew straight stitches, you can sew the decorative stitches, you can do whatever with this. It's good for a lot of things, in other words. All right, so let's change out the presser feet, and we're just going to do that. And we'll take this away. And then we're going to come underneath. And again, like in real life, this is way easier because you don't have the situation of trying to not get your hand in the front of the camera. But you do want it to snap. It should snap in. See, it's not snapped. So you just kind of move it around until there it goes, and it's snapped into place. You will know when it's right. So now what we'll do is we'll just stitch a little fabric so you can see that. Okay, let's sew a little fabric. This is my little tester. So we put our needle in. Make sure that your upper thread is down and behind. Put down your presser foot, and then we're just going to stitch. And I'm at a 2.5 inch, or 2.5, a 2.5 stitch length, which is like an all-purpose stitch length. And we'll just stitch. And we'll lock it in. And there we go. And you can see it's a straight stitch, so it just like did its thing. Let me show you now what happens when we go to a zigzag. And on this machine, I'm going to put in option 3. So 3. When you look at the window for this one, it's going to tell you that your stitch length is a 2. You can change that, and your stitch width is a 5. You can also change that, but we're just going to stitch it just like right out of the box, in other words. So we're just going to stitch it, and you know, you can see how that needle is going back and forth. That's the nature of the zigzag stitch. It's a lateral movement, and so you want to make sure you have the right presser foot in there so that that needle doesn't hit anything. And there you go, and then we'll lock it in. Ta-da! Done. And it's beautiful. And let's see if you can see. Put it there so you can see what's going on. There we go. Let's do a decorative stitch, because when you sew a decorative stitch, you also want to have this all-purpose foot. Let's see. Let's go with 38. Okay, and you saw how the needle moved all around. That's just the needle setting itself into the position it needs to be in to stitch. And we'll lower. And notice I'm not pushing and I'm not pulling. All I'm doing is steering the fabric. Your job is to steer it. See how that is getting wider and thinner over time? Kind of like my waistline. A little bit wider, a little bit thinner. I know, it's okay. But if I didn't have the right presser foot on, I mean, you can see it would be a disaster. So the all-purpose presser foot is your friend. So we bring it up, and like I was showing you, you could take it way up if you needed to, but you know, we don't really need to here. So okay, that is it's probably more than you ever wanted to know about the all-purpose presser foot. But that's it. Just, you know, I want to encourage you to not be afraid of your machine. I mean, don't manhandle it, but don't be afraid. You know, just try. Just watch it drop off. It's okay. And again, when you can use your left hand like a normal person would, not somebody making a video about how to do this, you'll find it's a lot easier. But yeah, it just snaps right in. And yeah, so play with that a little bit. And that's the video. I hope that was helpful for you. Thanks for watching.